Havana is crazy. I have a crazy story with my wife. I was in Regla. I was her guide, and we passed one of my relatives' house, and they have a house that they rent. They have different rooms that you rent per hours. And he was showing the place. It was a couple in one of the rooms.
Oh!
And he didn't realize that. And he opened the door. And this is one of the rooms. My wife never forget that.
There was like a romantic couple. There were people loving each other.
Yes.
Welcome to the Big Photo Hunt Podcast, a show where we talk with aspiring and professional photographers to help us all grow and improve our photography together. I'm your host, Ken Deckinger. If you're one of our community members and you'd like to be a guest on the show, please visit bigphotohunt.com for more information. In Cuba, there's a popular term. It's called resolver. The direct translation in English is to solve, but in Cuba, it represents a concept, a philosophy of just making things happen in light of having just about everything working against you. It's a mindset and a way of life. It's also how my guest today, Alain Gutiérrez, became a photographer. Alain, welcome to the Big Photo Hunt.
Hello, thank you for inviting me.
I mentioned resolver because talking to you and learning about your background, growing up in Havana, it seems that that's how you became a photographer, getting whatever gear you could and whatever skills you could, however you're able to get them until you eventually, and this is the part where I just really like to flex how awesome you are to our listeners, you found yourself photographing Barack Obama, Pope Francis, the Rolling Stones, Karl Lagerfeld fashion shows, and Alain was invited as the official photographer to the reopening of the U.S. Embassy in Havana with then Secretary of State John Kerry. He now lives in the States in the Washington, D.C. area where he focuses on photojournalism, photography freelance work, and if I may say so myself, gorgeous street photography. And Alain, I feel like we've got so much to talk about, but let's start with you telling us how you got started in Cuba with photography.
When I think about my life, I think the first scene of Forrest Gump, that scene of the feather in the wind. I have been in places, I've been witness of things and events that happen in my country. Not because I have the best of the best, it's because I was there or life put me there. I become a photographer when I get in college. That was the beginning. Actually, I look backward and I was a really, really bad photographer, honestly.
That's actually good to hear because I don't think I'm a good photographer and I'm trying to get better. So I actually think your work is amazing. I am comforted to know that you felt you were really bad at one point. Was it in college that you had to decide what you wanted to focus on?
You don't graduate in Havana, in University of Havana as a photojournalist. You become a photojournalist, but you have another career.
What do you mean by you become a photojournalist?
Like me, for example, I'm a journalist and I start working as a photographer. People start looking at me as a photographer. I was writing and taking photos at the same time, but it's not like you go to a school to be a photojournalist.
And so what was your first job in Cuba after you graduated?
I was a teacher in University of Havana.
A photography teacher?
Yes, for 2 years. And then I realized that I was so bad as a photographer that I can't teach people. How can I teach people if I have no experience? So I quit.
Well, why did they pick you? Was it just because they needed a professor and like no one else raised their hand?
Yes, they need a professor. And I never was popular, honestly, in my life. I'm not a dancer, so I never went to parties to be like, oh, this is the guy that everybody wants to dance with. No, that's not me. I was very shy. So in college, I become very popular because I started taking photography and they said, oh, we need a photographer. Could you come here to take photos that something is going to happen and speech? Or we have an important visitor in University of Havana. Could you come by with your camera and take some photos? And then I started taking photos everywhere at University of Havana. And people know me because I was the University of Havana photographer. And it was a great time. And then at the end, they said, well, we need a photography teacher. You want to be a photography teacher? I said, sure. but it wasn't good, honestly. Honestly, today, I don't recommend anyone to do something like that.
You don't recommend anyone to become a professor?
No, a professor after finishing college, like right after. You need to have experience.
I would agree with that. I mean, if I was about to hire someone to be a professor in my university and they told me, hey, I'm not any good, I would probably rethink my decision. But I guess they didn't care and they didn't really know. And you were just like, hey, sure, I'll take that job. Yeah, I'll do it. So now that I know that you were a self-proclaimed terrible photographer, how did it escalate from there, from being a terrible professor to photographing Barack Obama, the Pope, Karl Lagerfeld, the Rolling Stones? It's like you photograph the kings and queens of every category of importance in the world. I mean, how did this all happen? Like they said, let's just hire the guy that sucks. Well, and just for the record, I asked that question because I didn't know that you sucked. I actually thought you were always great because your photos today are amazing. This is for me. I want to know because I think I suck and I want to go to amazing. And so tell me how you did this.
Well, first, the moment that I started appreciating other photographer work and realizing and understanding that they were better than me, that day I started being a better photographer. Getting rid of all that pride that you have as a photographer, understanding, wait. These people, those photographers are really good. I'm not. I need to be good. And then you start understanding the work, be more humble. And that was my path. The other thing is like, cool, I had a girlfriend that she worked in a school, and somebody in the school was promoted to be the editor of a magazine, Cuban-American magazine. And we need a photographer. So my boyfriend is a photographer, but also I was doing a volunteer work. In one of your podcasts, one of your interviews, he said that you need to volunteer to be better. And I was listening to her and said, yes, you're right, because I was volunteering from school. And when they saw my photos, they said, would you like to work with me in a new magazine that we are creating? So, sure. And then I start working for that. That was a foreign press. That's a Cuban-American magazine. And then I start having access. And I'm a traveler. I mean, even when traveling wasn't that easy in Cuba, I'm a traveler. I like always going to different places, meeting new people. And that was the ideal job. Working, going to places, getting here, getting there. And because it was a Cuban-American magazine, we had a relationship with the American embassy. And that was during Obama. So I took a lot of photos in American embassy events. And at some point, they called me and said, would you like to be our photographer for the opening ceremony? I said, yes, definitely. You don't need to pay me. Just yes. And it was amazing. I was the first-hand witness of part of the history of my country. That's a privilege.
More than a witness, you were documenting it. And the history that is documented is your perspective. It's your lens.
It's true. I'm actually documenting, being conscious about that the photo you take today is part of the history. When you understand that, another door opened. It's like a whole new world. It's like, wow, you to take more seriously what you're doing.
I have a million questions based on everything you just told me. But can we take a step back to right before the part where your girlfriend offered you up to a Cuban-American magazine without telling them that you sucked? You mentioned that you started looking at other photographers and from a humble perspective said to yourself, they are better than me. When you looked at their photos, what were you looking for? What were you trying to dissect or understand in their photos to help you improve? And I ask that question because that's a technique that I use where I look at photos and I say to myself, that's a beautiful photo. I try to learn from that photo, but I don't always know what to look for. I don't know how to dissect it. And I'll give you an example. There is this woman that I've been following on Instagram. Her name is Natalie. She lives in New York, and I love her photos. There are these photos of the Amalfi Coast and that part of Italy, and I'm trying to dissect them to understand what she's doing that makes me not able to look away. But I can't figure it out. How do you look at those photos and what are you looking for to learn from them?
Well, I'm going to tell you how I start changing. I start imitating photographers that I saw. And then in the way you find your own self, you find your own style. When I look at other photographers' work, I will look for the composition, how they see the world, how they put everything in the frame, the light, how they understand the light, how they work with the light, what they're looking for. What is like, oh, this is curious. And that's how I start making that different. Of course, there is photographers that they close their eyes, take a photo, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
And you're in the same place, you try to do something similar, you can't.
No.
Come on. It's the hand of God.
It is. It's something. I've been trying to get that hand. I don't have it. I can't get it.
Exactly.
I try so hard. I've gone
But
to
you are
B&H.
different.
I've gone to B&H and I'm like, if I buy this camera, will I get the hand? No.
That's true. I got now a Polaroid and I get inspired by the Polaroid photo that I've seen. And I say, how can I do that? It is how people grow up, how they feed themselves culturally. Is where you come from, what you watch, what you listen, who you talk with. Because it's your environment. I mean, you need people to understand and to be better. You can go outside and take photo by yourself, but when you're taking photo with other photographers, your mind opens, you start seeing things from another perspective. That's why it's so important to go to a workshop, for example. When you go to a workshop, you learn from the others. They have similar level, but you're learning from there. You're seeing what other people are doing. Oh, this is this. How do you do this? And you realize, oh, we were in the same place, that you have a different photo. And then you are learning, you are growing. I think it is talent, but also you grow learning from others.
I agree. I believe you have to be with people. You're collectively like learning from each other. I've never attended a workshop. So I actually find it interesting that you mentioned that, because I was about to attend a one-day shop up in Maine on the coast as a first-time workshop. It's sold out, so I can't. But I was trying to understand in my head how you learn from a workshop. So to hear your perspective on that is really interesting. And what, people are talking in these workshops? Is that what's happening?
Exactly. I mean, I've been in several workshops as part of the workshops, and you learn from the people. You have the instructor telling you how to do things or suggesting you what to do. And then you are hanging out with other photographers and you are learning, you're listening what they're saying. Oh, look at this. Oh, I never look at this. But what about if you look at it from this side? Oh, wow, that's amazing. You have a great eye. Then you start recognizing other people and your photography grow. I work for people who offer workshops in Cuba, and I was a worker. I was working with them as a photography guide, and I was drinking all that knowledge. I was learning from what they were doing.
Hey there, it's Ken. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Big Photo Hunt podcast. I'm really happy you're here. I wanted to just punch in and tell you about the Big Photo Hunt in case you weren't yet a member. We're building the world's most friendly online photography community, and it's pretty friendly. Not to mention, it's the best place for amateur photographers to grow by sharing photos and being inspired by other members. Members post only one photo a week. Then the community upvotes their favorite photos. At the end of each week, we celebrate the most upvoted photos. It's really fun. So if you're not yet a member, check it out, bigphotohunt.com, and reach out to me if I can answer any questions. I'm around. Now back to the show. And you really feel that when you've attended these workshops or participated in some capacity, you've really felt yourself grow, your skills grow, and your photography grow?
Oh, definitely. When I travel outside America, because I live here, my wife and me, we used to hire local photographers to walk with us. So what we're doing with that, we are supporting a local photographer. We are helping somebody to make some money doing what they're doing. But at the same time, when you do that, you learn from that photographer. Those photographers bring you to the places that they know. They make easier for you to find amazing photos. And it's like doing a workshop. Even when you're not doing a workshop, you are just hiring somebody to walk with you. But it's a win-win relationship. It's like, I'm going to pay you, bring me to places. And we always said, we don't want to go to touristy places. Please bring us simple places. I want to eat also where people eat. That's something beautiful that we can do as a photographer to build a community.
Have you been to Lisbon?
No, that's one of my dreams.
I've got someone for you in Lisbon. His name is João Gomez. And actually, João is going to kill me because he took me out and we went for photography all around Lisbon. And since then, every time I talk to someone, I mention his name, including, I think this may be the second or third podcast episode I've mentioned his name in. So he's probably going to kill me. He's like, Ken, stop mentioning my name. I'm just kidding. He's really cool. Anyway, I did that in Lisbon for the first time. I didn't pay him. Sorry, João. I guess I should have paid you, but just don't send me a bill. And he was awesome. And we're like good buddies now. He just had a baby. I mean, it was awesome. I had such a wonderful time in Lisbon, and I thought it was one of the best ways to see the city. And we did the same thing. We just went all around. We had lunch at some local place where I was eating everything from like rice and steamed pig ears. And it was just amazing. And like, not necessarily the ears. I mean, they were fine. They were floppy and chewy, but just the experience. So I agree. And Tokyo, I would love to get the person's name in Tokyo because I've been there twice, but never with my camera.
We hire iExplore. You can find it in Instagram. Amazing.
I actually think that that's a great thing in Cuba, too, because Cuba's misunderstood in a lot of ways. I think there's a lot of things that are correctly understood, but there are a lot of things that are misunderstood, particularly like us, the relationship between the people. Cubans, I have found welcoming and loving to me as an American. And I have such close friends now in Havana. But my point is that with Cuba and Cubans being so warm, it still can appear a little intimidating the first time you're there.
Yes, I agree with you. If you, as an American, never been in Havana or in Cuba in general, you can feel intimidated the first time. But once you get in there and you meet the Cuban people, you understand that, okay, it's not what they said. Same here, honestly, when I came here, I have a concept of the Americans that was different. Today, I talk with my friends there. They say, well, but in America, people don't care about each other. No, we do. I say we do because I'm an American citizen now.
Yeah, oh, well, we congratulations. That's great, man.
Yeah, and that's why you need to talk. That's why you need to travel. You need to make friends. That's why you need to create a community. This is my concept now that I learned with the Americans, is creating a community. When you create a community, it's like we help each other, we learn from each other, and we grow up together.
My first time in Cuba, I landed and I was at my casa particular at like 1 p.m. It was in Havana Vieja on Aguacate over by Plaza del Cristo, right over there, right across the street from El Cafe, which still is my favorite cafe in the planet. I told Nestor that. I was like, this is my favorite cafe. He's like, great, thank you. I'm glad it's your favorite cafe in Cuba or in Havana. I'm like, no, dude, this is my favorite cafe in the world. And he gave me like a lechon sandwich with yuca and like this marmalade on it. And then like he became my favorite person in the world. But anyway, so my first time in Havana, it was 1 p.m. It was like April, so the weather wasn't too hot. And I was meeting a friend and my like co-producer in this documentary we're making, but she was out in Vinales at the moment. It was just me. And I just started walking around with my camera. I walk into this garlic shop and start talking to this guy in Spanish. And my Spanish was a lot worse then. And really have no idea what we're talking about. But I have it all on video and I have photos of him. So then I go home and I never see him again. But whatever. I think maybe on like my 4th or 5th trip to Havana, I'm walking down the street at night and this guy from the garlic place, you know how when like you take photos of someone or, you know, video and then you're editing it, you feel like you know them, right? You're so close. But it was that 1 second in time from them and they never even thought of you again. This guy goes flying by in a Visa taxi, driving it. And I'm like, hey, amigo, aquí, come here. And I'm like, so I go and he stops his Visa taxi and he looks at me like I'm crazy. And I go hug him and I'm like, hey. And he's like, no clue who I am, no idea. And I finally found this guy that I got these photos of. Never see the guy again. Until today, when I'm watching that video of you and your story on YouTube, and he's in your video. I'll play this clip for you. Here.
Havana is a dime.
The first image that I took with that camera was in a concert.
I was so happy because I can do what I want to do and I can keep the photos with me. So I don't need the permission or somebody to be agree with what I want to do. And that
right
was
there, that's him.
Freedom.
There he is.
I had another opportunity.
That's the guy.
Oh my God. This is, I'm going to tell you, it's close to La Moderna Poesía.
It's near Obispo, see?
Near Obispo.
Yeah.
And this is another street. Actually, in the corner of that place, there was a Japanese restaurant that she sells ramen, and Cuban were like, really? Ramen here? What is it? I know the guy.
This guy, I hugged him like he was my brother that I haven't seen in 20 years. He had no clue what I was doing as I'm jumping onto his Visa taxi and hugging him in the middle of the night in Havana, dark street. And I'm like, it's me. Havana is crazy. I have a crazy story with my wife. I was in Regla. I was her guide. And we passed one of my relatives' house. And they have a house that they rent. They have different rooms that you rent per hours. And he was showing the place. It was a couple in one of the rooms. Oh!
And he didn't realize that. And he opened the door. And this is one of the rooms. My wife never forget that.
There was like a romantic couple. There were people loving each other.
Yes.
I've been through that. Not the walking in on a people like sleeping with each other, having sex, intrusion, but I have done that walking down the street where they're like, come in my house, and they make me coffee. And I've often told people that one of the hardest thing about being a photographer in Cuba is that when you start photographing people, they all want to invite you into their house and talk to you for 45 minutes or an hour or more, and your whole day is gone.
Exactly.
Which is wonderful, but that's a funny story. Hi, it's Ken. I hope you're enjoying the show. Hey, guess what? The new Big Photo Hunt beta website is live. There's a lot to be done still, but it's a pretty good start. So if you have a moment, give it a look, post a photo, and let me know what you think. All right, thanks again for listening. Back to the show. All right, so can we get back to your story of sucking to being awesome? You got an opportunity at a magazine. You got in there. That process started giving you opportunities. And I know that during that window in Cuba, all of this was happening. Obama, the Rolling Stones concert. This is all like that time period where everyone was very optimistic and positive about where relations could be going. And then at some point you moved to the US. So tell me about that.
I met my actual wife in Cuba. And we married in 2017 and we had a beautiful wedding in Havana. And then I decided to stay there. I wait for all the legal stuff. I stay in Havana. And then I moved here 5 years ago. I moved here. I opened a company to bring people to Cuba, start working the first year, and then the pandemic. But the second year, when things started getting opening and we had the vaccines and stuff like that, I started working for the year as a tour guide in DC. So it was a year that was like, okay, second year, okay, and now I'm working in a school. So hard as an immigrant was really hard, being a person that was popular in Cuba. And moving here where I didn't know anyone, I had to start from zero. And as every immigrant, I didn't want to recognize that I was an immigrant. So I just moved to America. At some point, you start feeling like an outcast. You disarray, I think it's the word disarray, that you are like, where I am, I don't belong to here. And that was a tough time for me. Even when I never had the same issue that other immigrants had, I tried to fight for where to live, how to eat, I had all other things solved, but it was hard. And now I'm starting breathing again. I'm building myself again in this country, doing anything possible. My wife the other day asked me, what kind of photographer are you? And I said, okay, I know that here in America, people are specialized in things. I said, I'm a wedding photographer. I'm a food photographer. I'm a portrait photographer. I do events. I can be like that because that's not my personality. I do everything because I need to eat and I like to do it and I get bored. I do the same every day. So I need to do something different. But we were like talking and she's very smart. She's a lawyer. It was like a trial. And at the end, yes, I need to recognize I'm a street photographer. I'm a travel and a street photographer because I like people. I want to see something new every day. I want to do something different every day.
I can relate because I am the kind of photographer based on whatever good photo I took. If I took a good street photo, I'm like, I'm a street photographer. But then if I took a landscape that I like, just because I got lucky, it's good. Oh, I'm that. But I love street photography, and I love it for the same reason. I was traveling with my wife recently, and I was putting my camera in everyone's face. You know, she's a little uncomfortable with it, and I'm not uncomfortable with it. I was in the beginning. Now I'm just like, it's just life, and I love it. For the most part, people don't care anyway. So I love street photography. Could you tell me, from a photographer's perspective, what are the biggest contrasts that you've noticed between being a photographer in Cuba and now being a photographer in the States?
It was easier in Cuba to engage with people. People trust more in other people than here. In Cuba, you can openly take a photo of anyone. Here, you need to choose the moment to take the photo. I never hide myself when I take a photo here. I never hide my camera, just in the metro. In the metro, I just take photos from the hip. I love taking photos in the metro. Everywhere that I go, I take photos in the metro. I love that.
I'm so glad you brought that up because I love your photos from the metro. And I'm so glad to know that they're just from the hip. They're not like some meticulously planned photos, because now I know I can shoot them from the hip in the metro or the subway and get good photos. Thank you.
And if you shoot with a fixed lens, better, because you know that you're going to get something. But yes, I think that the engaging with the people, that's the difference. And also taking photos of kids. In Cuba, you can take photos of kids with no problem. But you know what? I'm learning that here in America. I don't see kids the same way that I used to do it before. I'm more respectful of the people of space. And I take it positively. You know, things that you learn when you live in different countries, you learn. But that's the main difference that I find, interacting with people.
That's really fascinating to hear. And I've noticed that. I've recognized that going the other way, going to Cuba and realizing like how warm and welcome people are to be in front of your camera and welcome you into their life. Is there anything that I didn't touch on that maybe you want to bring up?
I do love metros. I have a great time taking photos in Tokyo, in the metro.
Oh, the trains there.
You go there, spend 15 days, and I was like, my mind was flying. Impressive. And this summer I was in London for 20 hours. I have a layover, and I get into the underground. And I'm telling you something, I need to go back.
The reason I love photos in metros and subways and like the London Underground is because it tells such a story.
When people commute, people have no mask. They are themselves. They end the day. They are ready to go home. They don't care about anything else but going home. They so get exposed. And I love that. I really, really love that. I want to show the beauty of life. So when I take photos in the metro, I try to bring that. Even when you see a person that is so dirty and tired with the hand in the forehead and looks like he's crying. It's not crying. It's like the real life. People get naked. People are like being themselves, floating through this vein of the city. That for me is like, I want to do that. If I can get a job and I can do that around the world, perfect. Yay! But that's not going to happen.
You're a beautiful man, Alain. I'm going to go with you to London Underground. And we'll go to London. We'll spend 5 days there. We'll spend 4.5 in the tube. And I'm so glad you brought it up because it's really comforting to know that you're just shooting from the hip. Because that means I could get photos just like that.
I mean, shoot from the hip when you can.
Yeah.
When you cannot put your camera in your face.
So I have 3 questions that I want to ask you. And I ask these at the end of all my interviews. The first question is, what's your favorite genre to shoot and why?
Oh, street photography, of course. Because I can connect with people.
Number 2, what camera system do you use?
Nikon. I used to have a A50 and now I have a C6 and a C7. And recently I discovered the 26 millimeter and I'm in love. Actually, I do weddings. And after the traditional photos like portrait of the bride, of the groom, the ceremony, that you had to use different lenses. The rest of the ceremony, of the event, I shoot with a 26 millimeter. Dinner, first dance, everything.
And are you shooting wides or are you using that 26 to get close up perspective?
I can go close and I move myself and I have wide shots.
And you can put the subject close up, but it's so wide, you could also have that whole scene behind the subject because It's such a wide lens. That's a cool look.
I mean, it's my style. I'm not saying that this is the truth.
I don't think there is a truth.
Exactly. There is no truth.
If you like it, it's truth.
And people like it, that's okay.
That's all that matters. All right, number 3, and my final question is, how often do you get that burning itch to go out and shoot photos?
Every week. Every week I want to go out. Not every week I can do that because it's real life. You have to work after. It's America. You work and then you work the weekends for the extra. But yes, every week I want to do something different.
I'm with Alain Gutiérrez, and where can everybody find you?
Oh, they can find me on Instagram. My Instagram is Alain Menox.
ALAINMENOX. And then your website
is AlainGutierrezphotography.com.
You have a workshop coming up in Spain, so tell everyone about that.
It's going to happen in Andalusia, Seville, and Granada. 6 nights, 7 days in these 2 cities, doing street photography, doing architecture, landscape, and also every day I'm going to be teaching people how to use Lightroom, how to work in Lightroom. It's going to be amazing, and at the same time, you're learning.
And where can people find information? That's also in your Instagram and website?
It's in my Instagram and also in my website.
Alain, thank you so much, man. It was awesome, and I really do appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining me for today's episode. Our next show will feature more valuable stories from our community members. If you'd like to audition to be a guest, please visit bigphotohunt.com for more information. Thanks again for listening today.